I've spent a lot of time with Donald Trump the last couple of days. I haven't personally been hanging out with the Donald. I've just been watching TV. He's on with O'Reilly. He's on with CNN's Chris Cuomo. He's calling into Morning Joe. And of course, he had this town hall meeting and press conference in New Hampshire. The cable networks were all over it. And the striking contrast was that Jeb Bush, the guy who we, the pundits, the brilliant prognosticators, all thought would be the GOP frontrunner, he had a town hall meeting in New Hampshire about 20 miles away at the same time. Which one do you think got live coverage on CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC? And the contrast between these two men is really becoming apparent. So you had Trump just kind of riffing and having a fine time and saying, they're probably sleeping over there at Jeb's town meeting, and Jeb's a low energy guy. He's not electable. Let me tell you about some really dumb things that Jeb Bush said. One of them was a comment on Iraq. Another one was his observation some months ago about illegal immigration being an act of love. So Trump is having a fine time beating up on Jeb Bush. And Jeb, for the first time in this campaign, hit back pretty hard at Donald Trump, but he did it the way politicians do it, in carefully parsed words. So, for example, he says that Donald Trump doesn't have a proven conservative record, spent more time in the last decade as a Democrat than a Republican, and raised some other issues. This is really proving to be a stark study in contrast. And Jeb Bush, by nature, is just much more of a low-key guy, kind of a policy wonk, whilst Trump is, let's face it, a master showman, a guy who shoots from the hip, shoots from the lip, some might say, and loves to beat up on, almost like in a schoolyard fight, loves to beat up on other Republican rivals, media people, Rosie O'Donnell, it doesn't matter. And he does it by saying things like, he said something really dumb. He speaks sort of the language of the streets, and obviously the polls show that people really like that. He is ahead, Trump is ahead of Jeb, almost double the total in the latest CNN poll, ahead in New Hampshire, ahead in Iowa. And it really is going to come down to what do people really want? Because when you look at Jeb Bush, and let's leave aside for a second the baggage of his last name and the fact that his father and brother were presidents, and particularly the question of George W. Bush and Iraq, he had a solid conservative record as a two-term governor of Florida. He knows these issues inside and out, and he kind of positions himself as the adult in the room. He's not going to pander. He's not going to use red-hot rhetoric. Let us reason together and we will solve these problems. That used to be a winning formula, but this isn't shaping up to be a normal year. And so you have the contrast of Donald Trump, who's never held public office, who's never run for public office, who's basically been a builder, a reality TV show star, and a guy who has made his living off tabloid headlines in New York, has taken the campaign by storm. Now, a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, and that may be a factor as we get more serious. And I know the conventional wisdoms, not like the pundits exactly have been right about Trump from the beginning, has been it's more fun with Donald Trump right now, but it really gets down to the notion of who could run this country, who could beat Hillary Clinton, although Trump is coming up on that score as well. Republicans will come to their senses, and they'll either vote for Jeb or for Scott Walker or for Marco Rubio or somebody like that they won't vote for Trump. But what if that analysis is wrong? Meanwhile, Jeb's about to uncork a big advertising campaign. He's, of course, raised over $100 million. Some of that, I'm sure, will draw the contrast, as the professionals like to say, for negative advertising with Donald Trump. But can Jeb Bush lift his game and display the passion that shows that he wants to be president of the United States in a way that will, in a very different fashion, match the passion that Donald Trump is showing as a guy who clearly is enjoying himself on the trail?